Chapter 15, Susanna Wilcomb Warren, July 2nd, 1861. Lieutenant Gaines, one of the sentry soldiers, stood in the doorway of the schoolroom. Mrs. Peake cleared her throat to get Callie's attention as she motioned towards the door. The soldier beckoned for Callie to follow him. She had been in such high spirits to see the faces of the children eager to learn she didn't notice him. This day, she was reading with the primer class. There were 17 children who showed up this morning. Lieutenant Gaines was friendly with Callie's family now after Papa doctored his sick horse, Flyer. Papa said Flyer had eaten too much hay and had colic. When Papa saw that the horse was about to lie down in his stall, Papa stopped him. Papa stayed awake all through the night with Flyer to keep him walking until the colic passed. Lieutenant Gaines was very grateful and beholden to Papa after that. That man saved my horse, he had told another soldier. Callie looked to Mrs. Peake. Go ahead, the teacher whispered across the room. I can spare you a while. Mrs. Peake called to the primers. Children, come and sit with us. Callie could only wonder what was wrong now, but the lieutenant seemed to have a chuckle at the corner of his mouth. There is someone at the entry gate asking for you, Callie, the lieutenant began. She seemed harmless enough. I waved her to come on through, but she flatly refused, he whispered to her. Callie could not imagine anyone asking for her by name. She ran her hand down alongside her dress to straighten out the hem and looked up at the sky. It was growing cloudy. There would be rain for sure. Callie walked alongside the lieutenant as best as she could to keep up with his long strides. I'd say she has a temper. She said she would not set one foot on this enemy soil, and she would not leave until I fetched you. She is insistent, he said, chuckling. Lieutenant Gaines laughed, but Callie could not join him in the joke, for the awful sinking feeling in her stomach. She could not say directly who this could be, but only one person came to her mind. Callie? Susie queried. Is that you? You look so different than the last time I saw you. Your clothes. Callie smiled, smoothing down the hem of her dress again. Well, you come over here to me, Callie. It was Susie. She motioned for Callie to step through to their side of the entry walkway. You come nearer to me, Callie said. Susie came closer, but stayed outside the walls of the fort. Callie, Susie cried, reaching out to her. Mother said you would be here at this awful place. I am so happy to find you, she said, taking Callie's hand. How did you get here, Susie? Is there something wrong? Callie asked, looking around to see who was with her. She hesitated, is your mother here? Old Ben brought me here in the wagon, she said, pointing. It's tied up on the other side of the river. He's waiting for me. For us. Oh, Callie, Susie began, trying to fight back tears. What's wrong? What has happened? Callie asked, out of concern for the girl. Susie stared at Callie, whimpering. Now she must look up at me. Her forehead only reaches my nose, Callie thought to herself. Won't you come in, Susie? I know the soldiers will let you pass, Callie said, looking at Lieutenant Gaines for confirmation. I had to come see you, Callie, is all, she stammered. I had to come to see you before we left tonight. Leaving? Tonight? Where will you go? Mom and I can't stay here any longer. We won't. We are heading to Kentucky. Papa has family there. Mom wants to go, but leaving will just be so awful. I remember that your father had family there, Callie said, not knowing what else to say. Oh, Callie, everything is so mixed up. I have felt so alone. I miss Daddy. Mama misses him too. And I have missed you so much. I miss the way we would sometimes talk all through the night. I wish you would come back with me. Oh, Susie, Callie began. I could never. Things happen so fast, Callie said. And without much warning. It's the war. The war, Susie repeated. It is changing everything. Callie, why did you all leave? You heard Daddy tell Hampton he was supposed to take care of us and his farm. He wasn't supposed to run off like that. Susie, for many reasons, Papa didn't run off. You know Papa is not that kind of man. But he is only responsible to his family. He talked with your mama, about his plans. Besides, your papa did not have the right to give such an order to a freed man. For a moment, Susie's temper flared again. Now you do what I say. Get your things. No, forget your things. Come with me as you are. Old Ben is waiting, she said, reaching for Callie's hand. Callie stepped back in the covered walls away from her. Susie, we are no longer slaves or property, she said firmly. We are freed men and freed women, because General Butler has taken us into his fort as contraband. I am free to have my own will and determine my own life. Contraband, Susie spat out. I'm sick to death of hearing that word. I know what you call yourself, she sobbed. I know what I am, Susie. I own you. I'm sorry, Susie, was all Kelly could think to say. Oh, Kelly, what can we do? Kelly, Mom and we just don't know which way to turn. You know our neighbor, Mr. Howard. Well, his slaves walked off the plantation yesterday, just as big and proud as you please. They gathered up their children and their clothes and walked off. Then they called Mrs. Howard to the front porch. Mr. Howard isn't there anymore. Like Daddy, he went to help our war effort. Those slaves would never have behaved that way in front of him. They would have never behaved like that. They called poor Mrs. Howard out to the front porch as big as you please and simply say, "We are leaving and you cannot stop us." There are some on this Howard place who stayed behind, but they are still declaring themselves free. They proclaim they will only leave when they are good and ready. Neither girl knew what to say. Kelly looked at Susie. It felt as if she was someone she hardly knew. Susie began, choking on her words. We have heard no word about Daddy as of yet. Then she burst into tears again. Kelly held on to her while she cried. Kelly comforted her as best she could. Kelly knew too well what it felt like to lose someone you love. The wind was swirling around the two girls, both in war and change. It tumbled around them and inside them. Come on, Susie. Kelly extended her hand. Why don't you at least come inside the covered walkway until the storm passes? Susie lost her footing and both girls fell to the ground. The wind began to blow in large, sweeping gusts. Kelly thought it might blow them away. Rain clouds were forming, growing thicker, heavier, and darker. It's dark in there, she said. It's only the storm, Kelly told her. They huddled under the covered area to wait out the storm. This is like the night we went to Cowper's cave without the storm, Susie said, trying to smile. Kelly listened to her. Her mind was moving fast. Kelly, remember when we went into Cowper's cave together? Yes, Kelly said. But we didn't go in together. You made me go into that cave alone. And Kelly recounted the painful story to Susie as she lived and remembered it. We weren't expecting to be gone for very long, but the dark sneaked up on us. At the beginning, we weren't set on going into the cave at all. We only wanted to holler into the mouth of the cave and run. The plan was to wait long enough to see what they said was true. If you holler loud enough into the cave, you could wake old man Cowper's sleeping bones and listen to them rattle. And we said if we did, we would run back home. I knew we one day would talk about this adventure for times to come. I didn't know it would be like this, she told Susie. But that is not the way things happened, Kelly continued. Mama Ruth says since Mr. Cowper died, such an awful death there, no one has ever tried to live on the land or farm it. The people around here say the land is cursed, and the black and white tree proves it. I remember that black and white tree, Susie added. Some folks say that the tree is there to teach a lesson about living, but Mama Ruth says she cannot figure out for the life of her exactly what that lesson could be. Sometimes folks likes to hide their ignorance by pretending to be wise. When we finally remembered it was the cave we wanted to explore, it was already getting dark. We wondered if we should just turn back home. Then you said, when will we ever get this chance again? So together, we decided to go quickly into the mouth of the cave, holler, and run on home. By the time we got to the cave, it didn't seem like such a good idea to me anymore, but we both said we had to see it through. I reached for your hand, but you moved it away from me. Susie shifted her way. No, Callie, Susie said, but Callie continued her story. Retelling the painful story seemed to give Callie strength. As each word flowed out of her mouth, it was as if some heavy load she had been hauling were being lifted away word by word. The rain began to fall all around them, so she took her time and would not leave out one little detail. You said, you should go in there like we said we would. Won't it be fun for you to see how far you can go and then holler out back to me? I told you I didn't think I could do that by myself. You come too, I pleaded, but you wanted me to go in there alone. I had never felt so scared. I held onto the wall of the cave. I stuck my head inside. It was so dark in there. I never knew dark could be that dark. I stepped into the opening and turned my head from side to side. There was nothing to see. Well, you certainly won't find bones right here, you tease. Keep going and let me know if you get to the end of the cave. I remember saying that, Susie admitted. You wouldn't listen to reason. I don't know why you wanted me to go into Cowper's cave alone so badly. You even said you were ordering me to go. I tried everything I could think of to get you to change your mind. I told you I didn't have a torch. You won't need a torch to hear bones rattling, you said. I never knew such fear, Susie, and I hope I never have to feel that way again. Why did you go into the cave, Callie? Why did you go if you were so scared of the dark? Callie looked at her companion. I think I was more afraid of you than going into that cavern or what you could do to me. Afraid of me? Yes, Susie, I feared you. I was your property, remember? You could do whatever you wanted to me. I was afraid of you. But most of all, I feared your papa because it was my job to do what you wanted to make you happy. And I was more afraid of him because of what he could do to me or at lengths he would go to hurt my family and tear us apart. Oh, Callie, I am so sorry. So you see, Susie, this life I am living now, as hard as that is, I am glad that I'm contraband now. You can't make me do anything. You can't tell me what to do. You cannot give me orders against my will anymore. These two girls sat huddled together to wait out the storm. Now Susie was crying again. Oh, Callie, I watched you as you climbed upon those Union horses and rode away, Susie admitted. I have been horrible to you. Can you ever forgive me? Please say you will. Callie had not realized it until the moment but she had already forgiven Susie. Somehow telling the story to Susie took the pain and the sting of it away and out of her. She felt free of carrying the burden of that awful event. I'm so sorry, Susie began and started to cry again. Callie patted her and held on to her while she cried softly. But I remembered that you did your best. Susie looked up, surprised when Callie said that. You did go to Papa to let him know I was in the cave alone, Callie said, smiling. Then Susie smiled too. I did do that, Susie agreed, and I am so very sorry. Susie, Callie began again, maybe this is not goodbye. Maybe things will be different after the war is over. Maybe, she said. Then she hesitated. Mom and I talk about you all. She talks about Hampton most. I know she liked having him as a brother and she misses him. I know that makes you my cousin. I've never had a brother or sister, and I think I would have liked to have a sister, but sometimes I think cousins are even closer than friends. Cousins are almost like sisters. And who knows, when the war is over, we might find another cave that we can explore, and this time we'll explore it together. The two girls laughed. They sat together until the rain stopped. It was still very windy. The sky began to clear. Kelly knew she had to get back to Mrs. Peake and the children. She hoped she didn't think she had forgotten her or them. Both knew Susie had to be getting back home. Callie, Susie said, I better head home. Mama wants to leave tonight, but with the storm, we may have to wait until the morning. Susie put her arms around Callie. She hugged her in a way that meant something real was very different and better between them. I do not know when we will meet again, but I hope we do. I will not say goodbye, Callie. I will only say farewell. The two hugged each other one last time. Susie turned to leave while Callie headed back inside the fort. For now, the girls went their separate paths, their different ways.